Greg Clay, the Associate Director of Claims, for those that don't know us, don't know me. Y'all want to, we got some dignitaries back there. Oh, sorry. But we'll hear from several folks this morning that will share some good information from you, for you, and maybe even have a few surprise giveaways. You might have to put your thinking cap on a little bit for that. But we are appreciative, and we're very fortunate that we have our leadership for the insurance company. They're here with us and will share with us. We have George Monk. I got to read his title. I can't memorize this. It's so long. Executive Director of Insurance Company Operations. And the claims department is now under his umbrella. So we're thankful to have George's leadership. Jerry Powell is with us back in the back, Executive Director of Business and Strategic Development. She's not speaking, but she's waving. Gina Fennell is with us back there, our corporate lawyer. And now, what's your title? I'm not sure what your title is today. Senior counsel, there you go. She keeps us straight. So, and of course, Gary Willis, our Senior Director of Claims, is with us, and Dee Dee Smith, our Senior Manager of Auto, is going to speak to us as well. And we have Al Cartwright with us, who is our Senior Manager of Litigation. So anyway, all of our management is here with us, and we appreciate that. Following them, Cedric Battle will come up and we'll do the main part of the program. He'll talk to us about the claims department survey that was done last year and the results of that and the things that have happened because of it and that we're working on in the future because of it, and we're excited about that. So before I bring George up, though, I'd just like to say on my behalf, thank you for all you do. I know you all work very hard, and I walk around and I see everybody busy, and I know you're working hard to provide great customer service to our members, and that's what Georgia Farm Bureau is all about, providing great customer service. And when claimant or insured, when we're protecting our insureds or we're working on their behalf, trying to get their lives back together. So big thank you for what you do from me personally, and I know our claims team as well. But without further ado, I will bring up the Executive Director of Insurance Company Operations, George Monk.
All right, Cedric, if I mess up the computer, I apologize. So I'm just saying, can I shut this? Will it mess up? I'll just do this. Okay. First off, my title's not any longer than Jerry's title. Or if you combine Gina's full title and all of her responsibilities, hers are greater than mine too. So I just wanted to put that out there. This is about expectations, and I expected to see Greg juggle better than he did. So I want to say that because he had been bragging about juggling actually for years, but a lot of bragging yesterday when I saw him. Although I can't juggle a lick, and I won't really juggle this program very well either while I'm speaking, but thank you for that.
Maybe I'll get another shot later.
Perhaps so. Maybe with a butter knife. The other expectation is that not everybody that Greg introduced is speaking. Al Barnett Cartwright is not speaking. But the good thing about that is because Al Barnett, or neither Al or Al Cartwright are speaking, that gives me more time to speak, which means I don't have to set the expectation that I'll be done in just a few minutes. So just sit back and enjoy whatever and wherever I go. So I wanted to kind of formally introduce myself to you, although I know many of you, I know almost every face. I am George Monk. I have been with the Georgia Farm Bureau for right at 25 years, although I started before Greg Clay originally in 1985. I left for a while and came back. Greg continued on, and in hindsight, I wish I had too, but I did do that, and I spent some time with Allstate Insurance Company in sales management, and I was, in fact, what we know as the district sales manager for Middle Georgia here before I had the chance to come back to Farm Bureau in 1996 into underwriting, and then have kind of worked my way through underwriting and that side of our operation since then. To give you a little bit of background on me, not that you really want to know it, but I will only say this once to everybody, so then it'll be kind of done and out of the way. I was raised in Pelham, Georgia, which is in Mitchell County, which is in what we know is Sales District 9 down in southwest Georgia. Pelham was a great place to grow up. Like many of you that grew up in small towns, you couldn't have found a better way to grow up and a better life back 50 years ago and 40 years ago. So I was very fortunate to do that. I will tell you a couple of things about Pelham. Besides being a great place to grow up 40 years ago, I can't really speak for it now because I don't go back there very often. It was known as the City of Pride and Progress back when I was there. Soon thereafter, I noticed the sign had changed to just a special place. So that tells you a lot about Pelham. It lost its pride or progress or both, and it just became a special place. And they literally turned all the lights off and didn't turn them on for years coming back. So that's Pelham, Georgia, and it was a nice place. But I'm glad to be in Macon rather than Pelham, and I'm glad to be in Macon rather than Atlanta. So I'm in a really good kind of middle place. I went to University of Georgia back during the early 80s, which were the best time for the University of Georgia as far as football goes. I graduated with a risk management and insurance degree, although like most of you know, I didn't come out of high school thinking I was going to be a risk management insurance major. I was going to be a banker, and then I took accounting, and I said, well, I'm not going to be a banker anymore. And I found something that fit. And fortunately, it did fit, and it fit the way I think about things and look at things. In our organizational chart within the insurance company, there's Al Barnett, and then there's me and Jerry. So people ask, where are you and what position do you hold? I have to abbreviate the title, as y'all well know, and I just say I'm tied for second within the insurance company. And that's kind of the way I describe it, and I'll tell someone about kind of what Jerry's responsibilities are and mine are. But that's where things are. And then I had the good fortune of having a number of folks operationally like Gary and Gina Stokes and Erica Shelton, and then all of their management team, supervisor team, and as it unfolds down to everybody in the operations that I have the good fortune of working with. I know many of you, some of you for the wrong reasons because of my daughter's car accidents over the last few years, but I've gotten most of that behind me now. So I will do my best going forward to introduce myself when I don't really know you as well. I encourage you to do the same thing for me and help you put names and faces together. So that's George Monk from Pelham, Georgia, and Executive Director of Insurance Company Operations. I wanted to tell you a little bit about what's going on. Since Al's not here, I get to take maybe a little bit of what he says, but I think all of you are aware, based on the communications, that our AM Best rating was affirmed back a couple of months ago. I can't even begin to describe or how important that was and how encouraging and uplifting for the insurance company that was. We many of you in this room, even though you don't know it, had a big part in preparing for that meeting. And we do so at kind of the executive kind of insurance level, and we prepare from literally January to end of March or end of April, depending on when the meeting happens. And we interview with AM Best, and we put our best foot forward. And, we can't always have the best foot to put forward. Y'all know what our results have been over the last few years. But in spite of that, we have a good story to tell, and we told a good story this year. And they left out of that first interview saying, you know what, we think things are going to be fine. You're going to have a little pressure on your the financial rating stability piece of it. And we said, okay, well, we can deal with the outlook part of it. And then they came back about a week before we were to go to committee, and our analysts were going to pitch our information. They said, we got some concerns. In fact, we're going to go to committee, and we're going to recommend a downgrade. Well, I tell you, that was a kick in the stomach for all of us who worked on that. And we said, well, you know what, we think you're wrong, essentially. And we got with American Ag, and we, in the 11th hour, covered AM Best and our analysts up with information that basically said, we think you're looking at the information wrong. We think you have interpreted this information incorrectly. And we don't think, quite frankly, you're giving us credit for the things that we deserve to have credit for. And we experienced a lot of those things early in the year as employees, changes that we had to make that they weren't really giving us the due credit for. And fortunately, within a couple of weeks, they came back and they said, essentially, to paraphrase, we got it wrong, and we didn't give you the right credit. And, as things unfolded, our AM Best rating was affirmed at B+, but they did drop our outlook to negative. And we can deal with that because, we can look back this past year and the year before that and had not had the best results. But I wanted to give you all a sense of how this thing kind of unfolds. It's a lot of angst and a lot of work and a lot of effort on a lot of people's behalf to kind of put Farm Bureau out there. But I wanted to share some things with you that bolsters all of this. When I was talking with the analyst, he said a couple of things to us. He said, first off, Georgia Farm Bureau is not a vulnerable company. And that's out of our analyst's mouth after they had the interview with the committee and they affirmed us. We're not a vulnerable company. That's not to say we have the best results and things aren't always going our way. We know that. But financially, we really are in far better shape than sometimes we may even let on to you guys that we are. They also said that they were putting far too much emphasis on performance and not enough emphasis on what we do here at the Farm Bureau and the Farm Bureau name. And it was just good to hear that. But at the same time, they said, we've got to improve our results. We've got to meet our targets. We've got to work toward making profit. We've got to stabilize our financial position. And all of these things that Jerry will tell you, Al will tell you, and anybody else that worked on that committee and anybody in your management leadership team will tell you, we know those things and we're working toward those. And the last thing he says that we are much more stable than even the metrics and the numbers show. And that's what we were trying to make sure we conveyed to them. And in fact, that did get conveyed, as we well know. So, as it relates to that, we still have work to do. There's no doubt about it. We now have to really report to them quarterly and make sure they understand. We used to report to them annually, but with the loss of our outlook, we got to report to them quarterly. So I'm happy to say, at least, that here we are at the end of July and the end of the second quarter, too, as a result of second quarter in 1 month, in fact, that we made a net profit at the end of the second quarter. So here we are coming out of this. We can go back to AM Best, and Al will be doing so in the next few days, saying this is how our second quarter ended. Our April was better than March, our May was better than April, our June was better than May, and we made a net profit for the second quarter. So we get to report that. In addition to that, without knowing the exact number, it looks like that we're going to have a very, very good July on the heels of having a very good June. And our auto results continue to move in the right direction, and we continue to put the storms of the early part of the year further and further in our rearview mirror. So those are the things that are going well. We just need to have a little luck and knock on some wood and hope that they'll continue to go in that direction. So that's what the second quarter has done, and that's what July looks like. I'd like to end by just saying this, because I was actually put on a clock, and Gary's doing this right now. I had a chance to sit with your management team yesterday in planning, and I just want to say, and I've had a chance to be around almost every manager in the company, y'all have one heck of a management team. You may not know it, and sometimes it's hard to see it because we get caught up in our everyday work. And I know how that filters down through everything. But I had a chance to watch them in action yesterday and watch them plan for the rest of this year and for next year. And on behalf of you guys, I just wanted to let you know how fortunate you are to have the group that you have. They are exceptional people. They know their business. They know claims. But more important than any of that, in watching them yesterday, they care about you. They care about everyone in here and the success of each one of you individually and the success of your department. And I don't know if you could ask for anything else more than that from your management team. And I wanted to recognize them in front of y'all and just let you know how impressed I was and how fortunate you are. So with that, if you have any questions, I'll answer them. But yeah, please. I'll be happy to answer any questions. Of course, my door's almost always open, so feel free anytime. Come by and see me. I would thoroughly enjoy that and get to know you on a more individual basis. And without further ado, I'll ask Gary to come up.
Thank you, George. Did Al Barnett, did he sneak in by any chance? I want to thank Al and Jerry for ceding their time, because we would have been way over lunch if they would not have given their time to George, because he likes to share his experiences. And obviously, this is the first time George has been able to address this group, and I'm glad he did. And he is certainly somebody that I'm proud to work for. It's kind of a full circle moment for me, standing up here talking to this group of folks. I guess about 18 years ago, I started about where Shawana was sitting, right in the third row, taking one of those tests where you really didn't have an answer to. It was an aptitude test. You know, you could answer one way, and there really was no right or wrong answer, and that led into an interview. And from there, my career at Farm Bureau kind of took off, and never really thought that this would be what I would be doing, addressing the folks within the claims department. But I'm very proud to be able to have you as on our team and my team, and I can assure you, if this talented group wasn't in place, I wouldn't have took this job. So very thankful for what you do. We're here today really to talk about the employee engagement survey that we took, I guess, late last year, and I apologize that we haven't gotten those results back to you sooner. Had every intent to. We had tornadoes, as everybody knows, hit on January the 1st, and it was kind of a wild first part of the year. But, you know, out of that we've come, it's kind of calmed down from the storm standpoint, and I wanted to get everybody together and kind of give you that feedback. So we'll bring Cedric up very shortly to do that. But first, I want to play a quick game. Hopefully this goes as well in how it actually will come off as it did in my mind. But Jeremy, step up here. I'm going to make Jeremy be the bad guy as far as, you know, I'm going to ask us, I guess, about 4 questions. I'm going to ask a series of questions, and everybody's seen the kiosk outside in the lobby with the Farm Bureau apparel in it. We're going to give away some store credit there. I'm not quite sure, Andy, how I'm going to work that out as far as getting that from you, but we'll figure it out on whoever can answer the questions correctly. And that's, you know, that's a good way to both hopefully, you know, get somebody some new stuff out there with the Farm Bureau logo and get that out there. So, tell you what, anybody want to just volunteer to answer the question? And Jeremy, I'm going to let you decide who holds their hand up first, besides Greg.
Greg does not count.
I promise you, they're really easy questions, and there'll be multiple choice, too. All right, Denise. Denise, all right.
All right, hang on, tell us who you are. Everybody knows. But
Denise Combs.
okay, there we go.
All right, the number is $50 million, and I'm going to give you 3 choices, and I need you to tell me what $50 million relates to. Is that the total amount of claims paid in Hurricane Matthew? Is that the total number of claims paid for the storms this year in 2017? Or is that all the bodily injury claims paid out in 2017? Need to phone a friend? Phone a friend?
B.
B. Wow, you're right. B.
Whoa.
That is that's the number of storm claims that we've paid out this year. And again, I mentioned, as you already know, $50 million was greater than Hurricane Matthew, actually. So that's the equivalent of Hurricane Matthew hitting the first part of this year. And thankfully, that got put behind us, and we're moved on to some calmer weathers. But out of that, we have reinsurance in place that, thankfully, from really this point forward for the rest of the year, we're fairly bulletproof. So if another Hurricane Matthew hits in October, we've got the protection in place to prevent any further losses of that nature for the remainder of the year, which is all good signs towards pointing us towards, a good last half of the year. So Denise, I'll get with you as far as how I can get you that store credit. All right, need a second volunteer. They get easier too. The questions get easier.
Greg still doesn't count.
It's $25 out there at the Farm Bureau kiosk.
All right, come on, gang.
Anyone?
There we go.
All right, there we go. I won't even make you stand up.
All right, tell us your name.
I'm Janae Freeman in Subro.
Janae. All right, Janae, the number is $87 million. And is that all auto claims paid in 2017 so far? Is that the equivalent of all claims paid out by Hurricane Matthew, which I actually had just answered earlier, so that's a hint? Or C, is that the number of times Jeremy Phillips goes looking for coffee in the morning?
C may be a good answer, though.
So I'll have 2 choices. So A.
A is correct.
All right, put it there, right here. Good job.
Well, that's coming, so just hold tight. So $87 million is how much money we've, paid out in the auto department this year. Sounds like a big number, and it is, but the good news out of that is, for the first time in several years, auto is showing signs of profitability, still have a long ways to go. I know we've all talked about the challenges that not only Georgia Farm Bureau has faced on the auto side, but the industry. But through rates, through the work that this group is doing, we're starting to see that, not ready to call it a trend, but it's certainly headed in the right direction. And again, that's certainly a testament to everybody in this room, and again, appreciate that. So, all right, and just two more questions. Any volunteers? And again, they are slam dunks from this point forward. You won't, I promise you won't miss them. So, all right, April.
Tell us who you are.
April Ushery.
She'll let Janae answer this one. All right, $11.5 million is the number. And is that the combined sub-road salvage recoveries for this year? Is that the combined reinsurance recoveries from this year? Or is that George Monk's new salary and his new role?
I don't know. Subro. I'm going to go with Subro.
Correct, it's A. We're always accused of, especially when George was in underwriting, accused of paying out all the money. And, we constantly heard from George, like, what are y'all doing this month? But it's good to know how much money we bring in, too. And, the folks in both subrogation and salvage, as well as the folks that give those referrals to us. I mean, it's good to know that we've got quite a bit of money coming in, and it's progressively gotten better. And Cedric and your group, thank you for doing that and what you guys do on that side of the house. All right, last question. Last guinea pig. Anybody want it? All right, Manny's.
Right, I was wondering when you were going to raise your hand. I knew it was guaranteed.
All right, tell us who you are. Manuel Monroe. I go by Manny.
Go by Manny. All right, Manny. The number is 95%. Okay? And A, is that the closing percentage of all of our claims in 2017? B, is that the customer satisfaction percentage for all of our claims in 2017? Or C, is that the percent chance that Greg Clay will seek out some sort of food if brought onto
That'd be 100%.
the claims department floor? So,
Yeah, it's not high enough for the food thing, so I'm going to go with customer service. We're great with customer service.
customer service is correct. And again, that's the most impressive number, I could regurgitate out there. The fact that 95% of the claims that we survey, and it's a good sample. Of course, it's not every claim, but it is a random sample across the department, and that has been a consistent number that we've seen. And when we ask all the time in departmental meetings, and what do we do to make ourselves different from the competitors, I mean, that is something that, in my personal opinion, I think all of you agree, that we do better than most, if not everybody, is on the service side. Now, I guess unfortunately, by the time we service them in the claims department, something's happened to them. And so if there are any ways, and we've talked about this yesterday, if we can figure out ways of promoting our service out before, not on that individual claim, but before the folks, so we can, market that and use that as a differentiating point against our competitors. We're open to those ideas. We've talked about, doing some testimonials, getting them on social media, things like that, because again, that's gold when it comes to marketing. And again, thank you for what you do in that area. And so just the last, to kind of wrap it up, I think we'll have a question and answer session. Based on the number of hands that went up, I doubt we will get many questions when this is over with, which I certainly don't blame you for that. But, really the only other big topic that you may have some questions about is I know everybody's heard Stream, and Stream has been talked about over the years. I can say it is very, very, very close. And there'll be probably a couple more meetings where we can talk about updates to Stream. Tammy Slade is our resident expert on it, and she has done a great job of trying to integrate everybody that needs input into that, because it is a monumental task. And our IT folks, if you see somebody working in IT, just go up and give them a hug, because they are working hard, and really that's where our resources in the IT department are going to, is towards to getting us to stream, which will leverage us to do a lot of other things. So look for more updates on that. And really that's all I've got. And again, questions, we can take them later on, or feel free to stop by my office. Again, I appreciate what you do, and we're going to do more of these, Oh, and the temperature. I take full responsibility for it being cold in here. I might have overdone it a little bit, but I did ask Denise to keep it cool in here, because the last meeting I'd come in, it was hot, and I was like, if I got to get up to speak, I need it cold. But so I apologize for that. But if you know I'm speaking, you might want to bring a jacket or something like that, because it's going to be cold, more cold than hot, I promise you, if I have anything to do with it. Do you want to say anything? I'm going to bring up Dee Dee, and she needs no introduction, so I'm just going to kind of turn it over to her. All right? Thank you.
I'll make this quick. Sed has some really interesting stuff to tell us that I think you all will enjoy hearing. But I wanted to say, first of all, big thing, thank you. I don't know, this time it was about 2 years ago, everything started changing. You know, we all were kind of like, whoa, we thought we'd get whiplash. And I remember it was probably in November, and we were in here in a class, and I said this to some folks. We were talking about all the changes that we're undergoing, how we were going to deal with them. And I said something like, y'all, it takes a while to gain 30 pounds, and it's going to take us a while to lose 30 pounds. Something into the effect that this isn't going to happen every night. Well, guess what? We're down to like 25. We're looking good. I mean, I am so proud. You guys have embraced all of this. At times up and down. Sometimes we were down 4 reps. Sometimes we were fully staffed and it fell again. Y'all have been troopers. I'm so proud of each and every one of us. All of us, we have worked hard. I feel like y'all have done a great job. And I know I don't get to say thanks a lot. And even to folks like, I'm not just talking to the auto reps. I'm talking to the CPU folks, the property folks in-house, everybody in ops, everybody in CRC. I feel like y'all all support auto every day. And sometimes you may not get told thanks as much, but we do appreciate all that y'all do for the auto group. And auto group, on behalf of me and Constance and the supervisors, thank you so much. But the one last thing I want to leave you with is, yeah, we're down to 25. We lost 25 pounds, but we still have 5 pounds to go, and then we got to tone it up. We got to get in there and start working those muscles. The weight might be gone, but we got to get it looking real good and curvy or buff or swole or whatever you call it these days. So I appreciate y'all very much, and thank you, and looking forward to what Cedric has to tell us on all your feedback from last year. Thanks, guys.
All right. Thank you, George, for leaving me just about 5 minutes to finish up. Morning, everybody. Quick intro for folks who don't know me. Cedric Battle, Senior Claims Manager of Operations. Like Gary, I started in this room about 18 years ago. I'm a little behind him. Gary started probably November. I started in December. They hired 3 folks. Luckily, one of them didn't make it, so I took her spot. So thank you, wherever she is. Actually applied to be an underwriter or in underwriting in Georgia department, and thank you to Kathy Hawthorne, wherever she is. Turns out she said, there's another position that has a company car and pays more. I'll take that one. So here I am 18 years later. Today I'm going to talk about, Gary mentioned the experience survey we did last December. In that survey we went through a couple things. The purpose of the survey was to get feedback basically from you all to determine what makes us a more attractive employer. And in that also, what makes us more attractive to you. If you were to go and ask my wife today, if something happened to Cedric, what would you want in the next husband? She will probably tell you everything that's wrong with me today. So in asking y'all how to make us more attractive to the next person, it really helps us make us more attractive to you all. In this, we have about, at the time, 240 folks in claims. Of the 240, 166 responded. So those who did respond, thank you, as the information was invaluable, as you'll see momentarily. The survey had a goal of going with corporate culture, recruitment, retention, employee engagement, as we're doing now, and overall customer service. Now in these, one of the first questions we asked, I believe it was the first question of the survey, is what generation you fall into. Now we didn't ask this to find out how old you are. Of course, we all know Greg's the oldest one in here. But we wanted to, everyone has a different perspective. Yeah, it is. Yeah, been filmed. Everyone has a different perspective based on where you grew up, Pelham, Georgia, what age you are, different factors. So the one thing I want to ask is where you fall in generationally. As most companies, we're a little bit different than most companies. Pew Research had, most cultures today, or 2016 when we did this, had 4 different generations. Here at Farm Bureau, we have 5 different generations just within the claims department. We've got our iGens, our millennials, our Gen X, yay Gen X, our baby boomers, and our traditionalists. Not sure which one Greg falls into, but we have those 4. Now sometimes people ask which one, you may not even know which one you fall into. Traditionalist would be my father. He's 1947, love him to death, but that's a traditionalist. 47, do what? You're not old? Okay. You sure? Okay. 1947 to before is a traditionalist. After that is your baby boomers. That would be Greg. 46 to 64 is your baby boomers. Gen X, the best generation. 65 to 76. I'm a 74 brother. After that, you have your millennials, which everybody talks about all the time. Your millennials is about 77 to 95. Those would be my 2 little sisters. And then after that, pretty much are my kids. 1995 to later is your IGN. So with those, we wanted to see basically where everybody's take was and where you fall into. And after that, our next question was, and again, goes back to what makes us attractive. So what makes an attractive employer? No surprise as to what you see up there. Top 3, opportunity, wages, AKA money, and benefits, which kind of all go to money. I love y'all. I love Gary. I love George and all y'all up here. But if they didn't pay me, I wouldn't come today. So those fall into that. After that, it gets a little bit more interesting. Flexibility, which we'll talk about in a moment. Reputation, training, the values of a company, and diversity. So that's kind of where you all laid what was important to you as far as making us more attractive to someone else and to you all. So what's important to you. After that, we had 4 questions. The first one was, have you or will you specifically seek an employer whose corporate responsibility reflect your own values? And that question came up mainly because of millennials. All the research we do, or Pew Research or other HR departments, it says that people are increasingly seeking companies who have values similar to their own. Whether those values, they're in the community, they're reaching out to Habitat for Humanity, just they have similar values, Christian values. And on that, you all, overwhelmingly 80.99% said you would choose someone based on them having similar values to your own. The next one is, do you agree or disagree that you need the option to work from home? That one, again, overwhelmingly 70.42%. Now, because of that, as you all know, now we have a AWE program. So Gary, Greg, George, and everyone took this survey, and now we have a work from home program. The third one is, have you or will you select an employer based on flexible working hours? And 73%, again, say they would select an employer based on that. So we saw that that was, again, one of those things that were important to you. Some of you here have flexible hours. We have our AWE folks who will watch this from home. And we have that. It's, I guess increasingly we'll get those more and more every day as we get new people in. We have more schedules. I think CRC we have 4 shifts, a lot of shifts. So every aiming support, we have different shifts. Auto has different shifts. So we saw that. Gary and Greg and George all agreed, and now we have a more flexible work schedule for some of you. Now, one thing I did find interesting, or I guess I found it funny, on our last question is what was flexible to you all? What was flexible to you all, 68.31%, was to come in wherever you wanted to. That was, couldn't get that one for you, but that was a new one. The next one was 23% of the time, you just want to change your schedule weekly. That was, I'd like that one if you don't mind, just, no, okay. And the last one, 7.75, is just to have a different shift, which is eventually what we went to. Now, some of the more informative parts of the survey, we had those, kind of generic yes, no, multi-option questions. The rest of the survey, and we'll actually be sending this out to you all. I was going to print it out, but it's 72 pages long, and I didn't want to kill half of Georgia's trees, so I'll be emailing that to you afterwards. But the rest of it is really free-form answers that you all gave. Some of you gave simple, some of you actually wrote paragraphs, and we appreciate all of it, and you'll get to see all of them. But one of them was, again, what do you think GFB insurance should do to attract more talent? What's on the screen is basically what I did was took the survey and took keywords that you typed in your answers. And the majority of the time, again, we go back to one of the first questions was, what makes someone more attractive? And that's salary and benefits. So 45 times in those questions, salary and benefits came up top. Next came miscellaneous, which kind of just hodgepodge of things in those. And then recruitment. After that, of course, training, and actually 8 people said no changes. That was probably all Greg and Gary and Jerry. But of those, I just want to give you a snippet of kind of some things people said. Under salary, of course, someone said higher salary. That was a lot. One was on-site daycare. We already have that with Jeremy. We have to take care of Jeremy all day. Give him coffee, his food. After that was more sick leave, bereavement. I believe we had an email out, actually came out last week with additional sick leave for family. So that's something, again, I don't know if it came out of this survey, but after the survey, we do have that now. Another was, I believe the Farm Bureau should be more upfront about pay rates, and Farm Bureau is very secretive about pay scale. So again, this was upfront. I didn't take anything out. If y'all put it in there, I left it there. Training, provide more competitive on-the-job training. Rotational and leadership development programs. That's actually one of our goals for this year, Dee Dee and Jeremy, is to have a leadership development program through Georgia Farm Bureau. I won't say guaranteed to be finished this year, but we are working on to have that for you all this year. Next is recruitment. Someone said to go out to schools, to businesses, job fairs, advertise on the internet, social media. We do 2 of those 3 now. For those who don't know, I go to the job fairs every year. To career fairs, I go to Mercer, North Georgia, Georgia State. I went to Georgia Southern once. But we do those. If you're interested in going, always feel free to email me. Again, like George, my door is always open. If you want to go on the road with me and think you have something to say to the college recruits, just let me know. Social media, again, something we'll look forward to getting more to later, because a lot of times some companies do advertise jobs on social media. As far as the internet, I think the last jobs we have open, I have a property trainer position open, and that is on Indeed. I think may have been on LinkedIn, but I know it's on Indeed.com. So we're all looking to get more out there as far as putting our positions out there to get the proper talent. Another one was make it easier to apply. Our webpage is not user-friendly for applying for jobs and to keep track for what you applied for. Again, that kind of goes through a lot of your comments. Was technology was a big theme of your comments. All right. With that, any questions on the survey? Again, there's a lot more to the survey. It's 72 pages, but the purpose of that survey was to get input from you and see what it is, again, what makes us more attractive to other applicants, but also what makes us attractive to you and what you're looking for. Any questions for me or any questions for Gary, Greg, Jeremy, Al, Dee Dee, George, Jerry, Gina? I figure it won't be any, but we got a roaming microphone. We'll bring it around if you have a question. Janae, nothing back there? You want to talk about the last episode of Power? No, $25. I ain't got it on me. I can put some on it though, but I ain't. Anybody? No? We will have, again, one of the comments would be on there is more communication. We will have more of those, going forward. Basically, this will be, our plan is to have one of many department meetings. I don't know if we haven't decided if there'll be quarterly, biannually, annually, but we want to have more department meetings to get in front of you, to give you more information, let you know where we're going, what we're trying to work on, and just to help better communicate with you all. If no questions, all right, that's it. I appreciate it. Y'all have a good one.